This is Small Talk with 101 ESPN's Michelle Smallman.
Hey, what's up? Welcome into episode 122 of Small Talk. Your host, Steve Ceruti and Michelle Smallman are here. Shout out to our listening audience and hello to our YouTube audience. I'm still getting used to being on camera this entire time. Apologies to the YouTube audience. Last week, I looked like Margot from Christmas Vacation. Today, I look like Elizabeth Holmes. I'm doing the black turtleneck. I guess I should talk like this then, Steve.
Oh, please. I'm getting like PTSD from watching that. She was one of my least favorite people of, what was it, 2019, 2018, whenever that came out. I couldn't even believe how much every time she was on camera, I cringed. It was uncomfortable, but you actually kind of oddly do look like her now. And we've been talking, we're having lighting issues. Like now we have to think about lighting on the show. I never had to think about lighting before. And all of a sudden I've got like two lights over here. I got one light over here. You got a ring light like you're like some YouTube star. It's a very weird world for us.
Yeah, we're not used to being on camera. We've been radio people, okay? We can roll in sweatpants and nobody knows if we look terrible. Now that we're trying to do this YouTube thing, and yeah, I guess since we're on YouTube, that's why I had to buy the ring light, we have to focus on what we look like a little bit. But, you know, the turtleneck is always just an easy thing to throw on and look like you're put together, even if you're not.
Yeah, I think, there was some stock. I was looking at some magazines with my sister, Rachel. She got me this book of like men's fashion, like especially specifically in New York City. It's kind of like a coffee table book. You open it up and there's like nice pictures in there. And a lot of the guys are wearing like turtlenecks, like Danny Cannell style with the blazer and stuff. And we were talking, I was just like, I just don't think I can pull that off. I don't know if I'm that. I feel like I'm pretty adventurous when it comes to style, but a mock turtleneck and a blazer is something that I don't think I'd look good in, or I would look like a Bond villain, which would be kind of cool. But again, I don't know if people would be like, Ceruti looks really good right now.
I think you could absolutely pull off the turtleneck and or blazer combo. If you could pull off a man bun, Steve, you could definitely rock a turtleneck.
You think that's more adventurous
than a man bun?
No, you think a man bun is more adventurous and more risky than a turtleneck and a blazer?
The turtleneck is a one-time deal that you wear and you make a statement. To get a man bun is a commitment. That is a look. This is who you are every day, not just for a night or for a photo.
That's true. All right, maybe I'll try. Maybe I'll have to get some. I got some gift cards for Christmas from the parents. Maybe I'll have to because I have zero turtlenecks right now. I used to have actually a bunch of turtlenecks. I remember in middle school, like even like creeping into high school a little bit. Remember like American Eagle and Abercrombie? They were all the dudes would wear like the fold over. The big old fold-over sweaters that you get for Christmas. I had about 100 of those. And then as soon as I hit college, boom, they were gone, never wore them again. So as I said last week, right, when we talked about fashion, style is cyclical, things come back, and maybe, who knows, maybe the turtleneck will be back in my closet soon.
The black turtleneck has never gone out of style. When I lived in Italy in college, when I studied abroad, I wore a turtleneck almost every day, so much so that my friends there nicknamed me BT because I would constantly wear the black turtleneck. But it looks stylish, it looks European, and it's a one-time deal, but it now is tainted because of Elizabeth Holmes. Before it was kind of cool, Steve Jobs. Now it's tainted because of Elizabeth Holmes. But speaking of Elizabeth Holmes, I need to bring this up to you. Have you seen this story about Hilaria Baldwin, Alec Baldwin's wife? It reminds me of Elizabeth Holmes with the fake accent, the fake voice.
So I know that she's in the news. I've seen people, calling out Alec, is it Hilaria?
I think it's Hilaria, but her real name's Hillary.
Okay. I don't know what happened though. So fill me in. And for anyone in the audience that doesn't know, like fill us in, because all I know is that everyone is crushing them and dunking on them on social media. What happened?
Okay. So like most things in life, this started on the internet. Some internet sleuth found all of this old footage of Hilaria Baldwin, who is Alec Baldwin's wife. She's had, I think, 5 kids and is one of these women that can give birth and snap back in like 3 days.
Yeah, I've seen her. She looks good.
Yeah, this insane yoga body, right? So Amy Schumer had done some sort of post with Hilaria Baldwin making a joke, and then people called her out for like body shaming and mom shaming. It was like this whole thing. So then because of that, Hilaria Baldwin was in the news. So people started digging on her and they found all this old footage of her saying she was born in Spain. She's from Spain, speaking with clearly a Spanish accent. She was doing a cooking segment on some sort of news show. And she was like, I don't know, what do you call this? And they're like, a cucumber? And she's like, a cucumber. And the person revealed that she was born and raised in Boston. She's lived in Massachusetts her entire life. Her name is actually Hillary. And she's not Spanish at all. She does not even have any sort of Spanish descent. And she's been saying she's Hilaria for years and saying that she's from Spain and pretending she doesn't know how to say the word cucumber.
Wow. Um,
I know, which is so
at
Elizabeth
what
Holmes.
age did they figure out what age she made this transition? And also, did her entire family and friend group just go along with it? All of a sudden, if I just showed up one day and started calling myself Esteban, would you just be like, "What the hell is happening right now?" Like
Wait,
you're Steve. Like
Esteban.
why would? But no, seriously,
Why
like
was that the name you chose, Esteban?
because isn't that Steve in Spanish? I think yeah, Esteban. I don't know. Como te llama, right? Me llamo Esteban. I took a couple of classes of Spanish in high school that I did not do well in, but I do remember a few things. But yeah, if I just randomly started calling myself Esteban and speaking in it with a Spanish accent, wouldn't my mom, my sisters, you would be like, "What the hell is wrong with you? Did she not have any friends? What happened?"
I have no idea, but it definitely happened in adulthood because they found some evidence of her. I think in college she was a dancer, and her name was Hillary. Like in a
Wow.
publication, it was named Hillary, and all these people started commenting, being like, "Yeah, I went to high school with Hillary. Her name was definitely Hillary,
But here's the
and she
thing:
never
where were all
spoke
those
Spanish."
people? Where were all those people this whole time? They
Well,
probably
maybe
knew
they were
her.
commenting, but like, who was paying attention?
That just seems like that someone an anonymous tip to the New York Times or the New York whatever, New York Post probably, or the National Enquirer, one of those magazines, and all of a sudden that would come out. Because if I went to high school with someone that was faking being Spanish, I feel like I would want to tell everyone that. I don't know, and especially if she was famous.
Right. And
Wait,
changed her name.
do you think did Alec say that he knew? Do you think Alec knew? He had to have known, right?
He was defending her. She came out and said that her dad, I guess, like did some work in Spain. And so she always felt like Spain was home or something. It was a very suspect
But
explanation.
deep
I'll put it
down, do
that
you think
way.
he knew? Do you think he knew? Because I wonder if he ever even knew.
I think he knew because you have to be some kind of crazy to put on an accent like that 24/7, even in the privacy of your own home, and keep it up for that many years. Because the way that this was revealed was she did some sort of video commenting on the Amy Schumer photo, and her
Mhm.
accent was gone. She didn't even think about it. She dropped her guard and started talking, and people were like, "Wait, aren't you Spanish? Why all of a sudden do you have kind of a New England accent? What's going on here?" And so people started doing some digging, and everything was revealed.
I get why she would do it because I always joke around how like I'm vaguely Mediterranean, right? And you know
Esteban.
Esteban, yeah. But I mean, I wouldn't go that far. But those like I feel like the Italian, Spanish, Greek, like that whole Mediterranean area, it's very mysterious and interesting. And like
Right.
you can be a like a completely uninteresting person. And if you're from that area of the world, you're automatically more interesting, right? Just not even doing anything, not even taking a class, not even whatever. You are just more interesting because you're from that part of the world. So I understand why she would actually do it. And especially like if you're a woman, like an exotic Spanish woman, that's a really attractive thing, I think, to a lot of guys too, especially probably in Hollywood. What is her background? Is she a actress? I don't even know what she is.
I have no idea. I don't even know what she does other than be married to Alec Baldwin and have kids and snap back immediately. But
Good for her.
they part of it, I wish I had it in front of me. I just kind of brought this up offhandedly, but when they did the lineage, I think her family was part of colonial times, like actually
Even better.
establishing
So she's super
America.
white. Yeah.
She's like from Massachusetts in colonial times. Yeah, she's super English and American.
I mean, if you're from Boston, that's probably going to be the case. People
Right.
from Boston are about as white as they come.
It is so, the whole story is so bizarre and so funny.
Wow. So I had seen it trending. I didn't really necessarily know why. And I saw the Hillary Hilaria thing. I never even knew who she was, but that is a wild story. And hey, I guess, I don't know. Are people mad at her? I bet
Oh
everybody's mad at
yeah,
her now, right? Yeah.
of
So,
course. Well, I think it's a cocktail of being angry, but also being very confused. Like, how could you do that? Same thing with Elizabeth Holmes. How could you talk like this when it's not your natural tone for years? For
well,
years. How
you,
do you do that?
well,
How do you wake up and commit to that every day?
Well, Elizabeth Holmes like clearly has some issues. But the one thing that I'm thinking of now, Michelle, is like we pride ourselves, like the creed of this podcast is we are a judgment-free zone. If you want plastic surgery, by all means, we're not going to judge you. Go and get plastic surgery, whatever makes you happy. If you want to be Spanish, I guess, is that okay? I guess just whatever makes you happy, go and be Spanish.
I don't know. There's some sort of appropriation there that is not okay. Also, as you mentioned, there's some sort of mental thing going on there. I just don't think you can wake up one day and say, I'm from Spain when you're not from Spain.
No, I mean, it's not a normal human behavior thing to do. I'm not gonna say that, but I don't know. I guess if she was happy and wanted to be Spanish, then go ahead and be Spanish. I don't know.
Yeah, listen, this is a judgment-free zone, but also the most judgmental podcast of all time. But this is where I'm putting on the white wig, because while it's a judgment-free zone, we are not judging things that make you feel better about yourself. But this is a lie. This is you blatantly lying to people for a long time. And that bothers me. If you want to enhance yourself because it makes you feel good, by all means. If you want to post something online because it makes you feel good. Basically, even though you could, I guess, make the argument that if pretending she's Spanish makes her feel good, then we shouldn't judge her. But this is it's a house of lies, right? She sits on a throne of lies, as Buddy the Elf says.
That's a good call. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sick of it. Don't lie to people like that. And she was like printed in publications saying, I'm from Spain. This is what my life was like. And you know what? That's unfair to the journalists that you would lie about stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess
it's a pro-journalism podcast.
This is, yeah. The truth of the truth eventually gets exposed. But I don't know. So I guess she'll probably go away for a while, and that's probably gonna be the next step for her. I don't even know what she does day to day, but no longer does she just go back to speaking normally now? Like, I don't even, what's the transition like? Now all of a sudden she has a Boston accent.
Yeah, she like, I bought a new car.
Wow, that would be incredible.
But imagine being from Boston your entire life and pretending on national television that you didn't know what the word cucumber was.
That's a hell of an act.
That takes a whole
honestly
level.
It's dedication. Like, I mean, it's like a kind of crazy behavior, but it's shouts out to the dedication, I guess. Shouts out to Hillary. What's up?
Not Hilaria.
Not Hilaria. No, I mean, honestly, if my name was Hillary, I'd want it to be Hilaria, though, for being honest.
Yeah,
sorry to all the Hillarys out there, but
yeah, are we a pro Hilaria podcast? Not the person, but just the name.
Hilaria greater than symbol Hillary, for sure.
I love it. Okay, well, this is our last podcast of 2020, and thank the good Lord, because we need this year to go away. I am so excited for 2021. Vaccine is happening. We're going to get some fans back in the stands. Hopefully by this time next year, we're back to some sense of normalcy. But as most people do during end of year shows or end of year podcasts, we're taking the path of least resistance. So we're going to do an AMA today because, we're tapped out. It's the end of the year. We were like, what should we talk about? We're like, you know what? The listeners always come up, the Shelleys always come up with better questions anyway, better topics. So let's just do a fun rapid fire AMA for our final podcast.
It's our favorite thing to do. And we also have a special treat at the end of the pod, though. We got to throw that in there.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. We are doing, I don't want to say a surprise guest because that'll make it seem like it's an interview of someone people know, but we're going to get introduced to someone who's interested in the pod and who may join the team. We'll put it that way.
He thinks he wants to join the rocket ship that's going straight up. That's what he wants to get on board.
To the moon, straight to the moon.
Yeah. So look forward to that. We'll talk to him for about 10 minutes at the end of the show, but the AMAs are genuinely our favorite thing. And I love the questions we have today. A lot of discussion.
Yes, I posted it on my Instagram at M Smallman. You can find Ceruti at Steve_Ceruti. And like always, the Shelleys came through. All right, so I'm just gonna go random. I sent them all to you on a list, but I'm gonna jumble it up. Okay, Steve, what is one thing you'd tell your younger self if you could?
Okay, this is always, I feel like you should have an answer to this off the top of your head. Like this is like an icebreaker question. This is a question that I think, you should just have an automatic answer to. I don't. So I had to kind of think about it and even do a little bit of research on it. Like, what do I want? What do I like in people? But this might be a stupid cop-out answer. But I think I would tell myself, specifically like Ceruti up to about 25 years old, mid-20s, stop caring what people think about you. And I know this is feels like a layup, and it's like, oh, that's every self-help book ever written has basically that as one of the chapters. And that's probably true. But I just know, I'm 32 years old. I look at the progress of my life and year over year. And in my mid-20s, I sort of stopped caring about that, and throughout high school, even college, like you want people to like you, and I get that because that's how you build friends and whatever. And that's how you build relationships. I understand. But the second I stopped caring about that, I felt like my life got so much better,
Totally.
The second I stopped trying to think about what other people thought, how I would react to a certain situation or what I liked or, anything about your life, there's this weird freedom that you get out of that. And I feel like I'm a better person because of it. Like I like the version of myself the last couple of years because of basically zero fuck Ceruti came out and doesn't really care what anybody thinks anymore. So I would say I would tell myself to not really care about what other people think of you, even though I understand that's part of growing up and that's part of like figuring out who you are as a person. But it's something that I think like a lot of young people need to be told. And the other thing I would do, if that wasn't good enough, I would just say invest in Amazon. That's probably the easiest thing you could say.
Oh, duh. That would have been a layup.
Then I wouldn't have to worry about anybody liking me because everybody would like me because I'd be super rich.
Yeah, you'd be everyone's best friend. That's for sure. No, that's a good one. And definitely something your parents always tell you as you're growing up, and you never listen to them because it's something that comes with life experience. And when you're younger, your ecosystem is so small. You, of course, care what everybody thinks because you have no concept of how big the world is.
Yep.
Like the 28 people you see every day are the only people whose opinions you're aware of. It might be different with kids now because of the internet, but when we were growing up, we only knew the people that were in our bubble. So of course, if someone didn't like us or there was an incident that gave us anxiety or made us upset, it weighs on you heavily.
Isn't it so funny too? Like every movie, they talk about how, your problems in high school and in your young adolescent years and, your 20s are not as big as you think they are, but you don't actually listen or believe that. And then now the hindsight view, you're like, yeah, remember when I was worried about like whatever this random test I took and whatever that I probably failed in algebra or what, all that stuff, or the drama that you went through with friends or friends that you don't have anymore. None of that shit matters. Like none of it matters whatsoever. Like you end up growing into the person you're going to be. So I would just say, even though I know it's going to probably be hanging over some of your heads, don't worry about what people think about you. It's stupid, especially because social media's made it worse too.
Oh, big time. I think if I could go back in time and sit down with a young Michelle who is bright-eyed and excited about her future, I would tell her to be smart, but not be so cautious. Because this might surprise you actually, because I travel, you see me going to New York, doing all these fun things. But when I was growing up, I was very cautious. I was the one out of the friend group that would be like, no, we can't go here. That doesn't seem safe.
Mama
No, you don't know this guy. Like, you meet this guy at a bar, you don't know him. You don't know what his intentions are. Like, that doesn't seem safe. I was always the one that watched Dateline and was afraid I was going to get murdered. And
watches Dateline. Like,
oh my God, my mom loves Dateline. Growing up, I was always watching Dateline. It was just a thing, Before I mentioned I studied abroad in Italy. Before I went to Italy, my mom made me watch a Dateline about a girl that studied abroad and got murdered in Ireland. I'll never forget it. I was like, great.
Enjoy your trip.
Yeah, be safe. I was like, okay, great. But parents do that because they're scared to death that something bad is going to happen to you and they want you to be cautious. But I wish that I had been a little bit more fun and fancy free when I was younger and didn't care and was more like, let's just go with the moment and see where it takes us. And, yes, this place looks a little suspect, but it could also be really fun.
Yeah, but it's easy to say that. I feel like because you have the benefit of hindsight of knowing that everything worked out for you.
Yeah.
Like we're not sitting here being like, if you're a high schooler or listen to this podcast, like throw all caution to the wind and do whatever the hell you want. Because I think some of the fun, and this gets into what I even said about like finding your boundaries and not caring about what people think. But some of what's great about adolescence and growing up in that way, high school, is finding out where the boundaries are, like pushing like I always thought it was something like push the boundary a little bit, like maybe you get in trouble, but you don't want to get in too much trouble where all of a sudden something happens that's drastic, right? I understand what you're saying though, like be a little bit more open, be a little bit more adventurous. And it is funny because you're right. Everybody probably thinks of you as this like jet setting person who's like super cultured and has traveled all over the world, which is true. But also like, I know down deep, like Michelle and Shelly is, you are a kind of a cautious person, not in like a bad way, but you have like a mom vibe to you. Like we used to, mom Shelly vibes come out where I can see you at a party telling people like not to do dumb things. Like, no, think about 100%. This and whatever. And that friend is kind of fun too. Like you need that friend. So that's how you're actually a valuable person, even though you might not have been as adventurous as you wanted to be when you were younger.
Yeah. I remember in high school one time, a drunk girl spilling red Kool-Aid on with probably vodka in it on someone's parents' white carpet when we were at a house party, and I'm the one cleaning it up being like, oh my God. And I don't even barely know this guy. And I'm like, the carpet.
I remember.
Why did I care? I wish though that I think, this is getting super deep, but I think part of it has to do with the fact that I grew up Catholic and went to Catholic school, and that do the right thing and that guilt and that
The Catholic guilt.
Some things are always just black and white, like this is right, this is wrong, was very omnipresent in my life growing up. And I wish I would have just relaxed a little bit. Also, I would have told myself, like, I dated a guy for a really, really long time when I was young, and he was gem, love him. But I wish I would. So many people were like, don't go to college and have a boyfriend. Like, you need to date people and experience your life. And we didn't go to the same school. And like I said, Jem, still see him, great guy. But I wish I would have taken that advice and just gone to college and been, again, more fun and fancy free.
Yeah, but I think it's easy to say that with the benefit of hindsight, though, right?
Of course.
Yeah, but I mean, like everything worked out. You're a well-rounded person. You're fine. Don't worry about it. But that is, yeah, I get that. Sometimes I think about the same thing too. Is like put yourself out there a little bit more. Like don't be so cautious. Don't be so afraid of being rejected, even too, of different things. That's definitely something I could relate to for sure. Okay,
next one for us here, Steve. What is the single best thing you've eaten this year?
Okay. It took me a while. Like you sent me these questions like yesterday or 2 days ago. So I've been kind of mulling over them for a while. And this is a really hard one because think about the amount of things that you eat in a year and to think about what your favorite thing is. So there are probably like dozens of things that I was pumped to eat about, but this is the thing that comes to my mind. Maddie and I went to Portsmouth, New Hampshire for our second wedding anniversary. If you've never been, it's a really, really cool like New England town. I think I've talked about it in previous podcasts. Can't talk highly enough about it. But there's a place called Moxie, which is like this little, I don't even know what you call it. It's like a kind of like a craft beer place, but they have really good food. And a lot of it is like American tapas food, right? And they had these mini Italian sausage, like hot dog sandwich things that were unbelievable. Like think of the best sausage and peppers you've ever had, but it's a miniature version on this small bun. They're called the Moxie mini Italian sausages. They come with onions and peppers sauteed on top and a lightning mustard sauce. I'm thinking about it right now. I'm just drooling. I'm not even like, I like sausage and peppers. I'm not obsessed with sausage and peppers like some people are. But Michelle, this thing was so freaking good. Maddie and I still talk about it to this day. And like, honestly, have debated taking day trips 2 hours north just to go get this sandwich.
I'm drooling right now. That sounds so
awesome.
Good. That's such a great pick. I wonder if that's something you could recreate at home.
You could, but I don't know if I'd want to put the work in to make that happen. Plus, I don't know what's in the sauce. The sauce was amazing. It was like a mustardy weird sauce. It was awesome, which you definitely need on there to make it good.
Sauce is key.
But I'm telling you, this thing was so phenomenal. Just make the trip up to Portsmouth. Don't try to make it yourself. Just make the trip up there.
Okay, that's a
really
good one. So I'm gonna give you two. I'm gonna give you one that I cooked, and let me pull it up here really quick. Sorry, I should have had that at the ready.
You cooked one of these. Well, I don't think I feel like this is my struggle too. When you said like, why don't you try to, can you recreate that? There are some things that I feel like you just can't recreate, period.
Like the thing you just talked about?
Yeah, I would never, you know what I mean? Or it would be way too much work. Or I don't have the equipment necessary to actually make that thing happen. And honestly, sometimes when I feel like I make something, I don't enjoy it as much as if I just go out and get it at a restaurant. And that's probably that's the laziness in me. But all right, go ahead. What do you have?
Okay, so one thing I've cooked, one thing I ate out. The thing that I've cooked is this recipe from Bon Appetit. It's called charred chicken with sweet potatoes and oranges. You cook it in a cast iron skillet. It's chicken thighs with cooked sweet potatoes. There's Castelvano olives in there. There's a little feta in there. There's chickpeas in there. But Steve, it comes with a blood orange sauce and a blood orange marinade that you put over the top. I made it for a friend who came over, and it was one of the best things I've cooked in a really long time. And it made me look very fancy and very accomplished in the kitchen when actually it was a super, super easy recipe. It was very easy to execute. So I highly recommend this. Go to Bon Appetit. It's called charred chicken with sweet potatoes and oranges. Look it up when blood oranges are in season and do yourself a favor.
And the blood orange is the official fruit of small talk. That we all know this. This is true.
Yes, we know it. Okay, so the other thing, Steve, is a while back I went to Mexico. I was in Tulum, and there's a restaurant there called Heartwood that's pretty well known. It's a great place. The entire meal was amazing. It was sensational. And it was one of those meals where you're so stuffed at the end and you're like, I don't think I can do dessert. And the person I was with was like, no, we're here. We've got to do dessert. And so they had they had two dessert offerings. One was 2 different sorbets that you get, and the other was a honey cake. And I was like, we got to do the honey cake, right? The honey cake comes out, Steve. This is the best dessert I have ever had in my entire life. Have you seen an olive oil cake?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It was the consistency of an olive oil cake, but it was with honey in it. And it had some sort of it wasn't ice cream on the top, but sort of a whipped type cream with sea salt on the top. So you've got the sea salt, the cream, the honey type cake, and then obviously a graham cracker like crust. It was so good. I didn't get a picture of it. I didn't speak. I just shoveled it in my mouth. I emailed the restaurant being like, I don't know if you do this, but I have got to have that recipe. Still have yet to hear back. If anyone has a connected Heartwood, please get your girl the recipe. And it's one of those things, like you mentioned, I can make it at home. It's never going to be as good.
Nope.
It's never going to be as good, but it was seriously the best dessert I've ever eaten in my entire life.
You strike me as a salt on a savory salt type of deal, like on your desserts. Like you like a good sprinkle of salt on a cookie or salt on a cake. That's very hit or miss for me. Like I'm not a salted caramel guy, so I don't know. But you strike. I know I don't. Caramel even in general. I don't love, especially by itself. But you do strike me as like you probably own very expensive salt. Yes or no?
Steve, I have an entire thing of Malden sea salt in my spice cabinet.
Yep.
And
there you go.
Malden sea salt is like love, Steve. It makes everything better.
I'm not gonna disagree with you because a good salt, I get it. Pink Himalayan sea salt from like you get the real stuff. It's good. It's really good. It totally changes things. But and you know what's weird is I'm not a big cake person. Do you like cake normally? I'm like for my birthday, I don't even like cake for my birthday. But a good cake, like I love a good tres leches cake.
Oh yeah.
But that's totally different from a cake. It's like a wet cake. It's amazing.
Yeah, right.
But what you're describing doesn't seem like a traditional cake at all.
No, it was. Yeah, it's not a boxed cake. You know what I mean? It's not like a cake you get.
Although face cake has its place.
Face cake.
Yeah, like like when you like at Costco, you get your a birthday cake with somebody's face on it. You never had face cake? It's like a sheet cake.
Oh, I know a sheet cake.
Yeah, it's like that. I don't
know face cake.
You never heard face cake? It's I guess I don't know if that's what it's called, but that's what we.
Is this a New England thing? A face
Maybe
cake?
it's possible. It's possible. Face cake hasn't made its way out to St. Louis yet, but eventually it will.
So you get a sheet cake with your face on it?
Yeah, like it's like the one, it's got whatever vanilla or chocolate, whatever, but it usually has vanilla frosting, and then there's like a printed thing on it that they print like a picture of you as a child or something, or your dog, I don't know, anything. And yeah, it's called face cake.
Well, that's what I want for my birthday this upcoming year, is a face cake.
we'll put that on dry ice and send it out to straight from Costco, New England, straight out to St. Louis.
Oh my God, can you imagine the consistency of that cake
I'll send you a face cake with you as I don't know, like some ridiculous picture of you, like maybe you as one of the trolls from Halloween.
That's always my favorite because we thought that was such a good costume. We were like, we killed it. Wait till everyone sees us.
And all the dudes are like, what the hell is happening right now?
They're like, you guys are so weird. We're like, but isn't this so funny?
Yeah, but we nailed it though, do we?
Nailed it. Okay, next one. Steve, what was your backup college if you didn't go where you went?
So I went to Quinnipiac, obviously, Pride of Hamden, Connecticut. What's up? Just outside of New Haven. And I was happy, actually, I went to Quinnipiac. So it's weird. Like my mom, I knew that I wanted to get into communications. I knew that I wanted to work in journalism or sports journalism or writing or media. I knew I wanted to do that for like a long time, for most of my life. And they had a good school. So that's really where I applied and I got in. So shouts out. What's up, Quinnipiac? It was great. But I don't really know if I had like a secondary school. I got waitlisted at Syracuse, but I don't even think I would have wanted to go to Syracuse because it was so far away. And then I think about being in Syracuse. I don't know. I know all the people that went to Syracuse are probably gonna be really offended by that, but it's in the middle of nowhere. It really is, like 5 hours north of where I am. And I'm pretty far north to begin with.
Steve, most college towns are in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, but that's always the thing that weirded me out. Like, I have a lot of friends that went to Penn State too. My cousin went to Penn State, but Penn State is in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. Like I would be weird if I went to a school like that because I would feel so isolated, even though it doesn't really matter. How is Champaign like that? Is it that much in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, it's in the middle of the state, but Champaign is a city. Champaign-Urbana is like a built-up city.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's not Chicago, but you know what I mean.
But you're close to some things. I don't know. I always got weirded out by being so far away from everything. But I didn't really have like a backup. I don't even remember. I didn't apply to UConn. I didn't really because they didn't really have a great communications program. But I mean, it's a great school. My wife went there. What's up? Shouts out Huskies. But I don't know. I don't have a great answer to this. I don't really remember my college experience being that like, me choosing between a million different schools. I applied to a couple schools in Boston. I think I would have liked to have probably gone to school in a big city. That's what I would, and probably far away from, because I stayed local. So probably somewhere far away.
Yeah. I don't know if we talked about this before, but my path was really weird. I wanted to go far away. I visited Florida in Gainesville. I visited NYU.
See you at Florida. Florida, I mean, Steve, all due respect to the people at Florida, but
I went there. I walked on that campus. It was hot as shit. I was like, oh, this is why you call it the swamp, because it feels like a swamp. And the
Yeah.
city was a little, I was like,
You in
mm-mm.
Gainesville? That's not
It,
Shelley territory.
it was, my dad was like, you're not going to like it. And he's like, well, we need to go just so you see it.
Yeah, that's
And
fair.
I went there and I was like, mm-mm. Visited NYU. We went and visited.
That I could see you. Yeah,
Of
that's
course.
a Michelle school.
Because my mom's from New Jersey. So I went to the city, growing up when I would visit my family sometimes. And I was always just in awe of New York. It's like a magical place, right? I visited Pepperdine in California.
Oh, shout out Will Kane.
Yeah, shout out to Will Kane. Could have gone to the same alma mater as Will Kane. But when I did the tour there, they talked about how it was a dry campus. And
Exactly.
I was like, we're out.
Beautiful,
We're
beautiful
out.
campus. Like maybe the
Oh
most
my
beautiful
God.
there is.
It was
but,
spectacular.
But you can't drink there.
But you can't drink. So that just was not.
Why are we going to college? Like, I'm not trying to sit here and say that like that, I had a problem, but that's part of college, is having fun. So sorry.
Part of the deal. So for me, I kind of didn't know which route I was going to take. And then a guy that I was friends with that was a year older than I was, he went to Illinois. He was dating a girl that was in my friend group and invited us up for a weekend in the fall when we were juniors.
The best.
And so it was myself and 3 of my girlfriends, and we went up to Illinois. And I will never forget it, Steve, as I have my chai tea in my Illini mug. I will never forget it. I walked on that campus. It was a crisp fall October day. All the leaves had changed, and I fell in love with that place instantly. Then he took us out, and I was like, this is the most fun I have ever had in my life. I was obsessed with it. I applied early, got in. I had applied to Mizzou as my safety school, but did not like Mizzou. I would have never gone there.
Yeah.
Not even a diss to them. I didn't feel it when I went there. Some people, they feel it. I just did not feel it the way I felt it at Illinois. And if I didn't get into Illinois, I would have been devastated. And I don't know.
You would have went to college.
I don't know what I would have done. Honestly, I have no idea, because I just didn't feel it anywhere the way that I felt it there. But I loved it. It was the best decision I've ever made, probably, because I met all of my best friends there. I absolutely loved the school. It made me such I think, a well-rounded person. It just was perfect for me. It was perfect for me. So I really didn't have a desire to go anywhere else. Because I got that great Big Ten. I thought you were going to say you would have chosen Wisconsin.
Okay, well, honestly. I was just going to butt in and say, you're describing what happened when I went to Wisconsin when I was in my mid-20s, which I wish if I had done that in my, in high school, I would have went to Wisconsin in a heartbeat. A place it's magical there. So you describing exactly why you went to Illinois. If I had had that experience in Madison, I would have went to Wisconsin. I would have been a Badger.
Yeah, the way that you felt about Wisconsin is the exact same way that I felt about Illinois when I went there, other than the fact that I could choose to live there for 4 years and you didn't really have that option.
I didn't really have this sort of, you talk about like being cautious or whatever. I didn't really have this worldly view of I want to get out and see a bunch of different things when I was kind of leaving high school. I have it now. I had it when I was in college, probably post-college. I was kind of a late bloomer when it came to that. So that wasn't my thing to be like, let me go out and see the world. So I guess I do regret that I didn't, and I don't regret going to where I went, because it opened up a bunch of doors. I had a great time at Quinnipiac. It's an awesome school. But like in a different world or a parallel universe or an alternate universe, like I would have 100% loved to have tried to live in a different city or to go to Madison. Or my buddies and I always talked about this. Like, why did we not all decide to go to the same school and go to like an awesome school in the South and party? Not Florida maybe, but why don't we go to like Arizona State and just, I don't know, have a great time? The weather's awesome. Like, obviously it's a huge school. Sports are really good. Like all of my friends, we would have had an absolute blast doing that. And in hindsight, we're like, none of us even got on the same page and wanted to go to the same school together. Like, why did we not do that?
So this is a hot take, and I'm going to catch some heat for this. But I had a friend that went to Arizona State, a friend from high school. And when I was in college, I went to Arizona State to visit it. It was a good time. It was not all bad.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, it was a different party experience than a Big Ten school. I had way more fun at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I had way more fun at Iowa. I had way more fun at Indiana. There's just something that's more, it just feels like college when you're in a Big Ten school. At Arizona State, everybody was partying at house parties, and they had like ice luges there. They all partied on Mill Street. It was like see and be seen. It was more.
Yeah.
It was more sceney than college was, my college experience, which was more like hang out with your friends and have a blast.
You and I are on the same page there. I very much have a Big Ten, I think, personality.
Yeah.
In that, again, I wouldn't want to go to Wisconsin, but I don't think I would have fit in at an SEC school. Not that I'm sure they're great. I mean, the partying there is probably totally different, and the vibe there is totally different. I have two cousins, one that went to Auburn, one that went to South Carolina. Both of them loved their experience at the SEC. I just don't think that was for me necessarily, but I get what you're saying. I don't know if I use Arizona State as like an example, not even as a specific school to go to, because I'm with you. I probably wouldn't have necessarily loved it there, but yeah, why don't we all go to Michigan or some, you know what I mean? Like, why don't we all go to Illinois? Who knows? Like, and just have a good time. But if I think if I had done it over as an adult, this is actually probably a good question. Knowing what you know now, as what, mid-30s, both of us, where would you go as adult Michelle and adult Steve? Because I think me, like knowing what I know now, knowing what I want out of life and what I want out of a school, I would have chosen completely differently.
I would choose the same. I truly would. But if I had to choose differently, I would go the complete opposite end of the spectrum. I would go to like an NYU, or I would go to a school
Liberal
in
arts
Boston.
school.
Yeah, like a school that's in a bigger city, something like that. Maybe like a USC or UCLA, you know, somewhere in California. Something so foreign to me would be interesting. But it's so funny because I would go visit my friends in Chicago, and all of their friends from high school went to Wisconsin, or they went to Northwestern. It was all some sort of version of a Big Ten school. Then when I moved to Connecticut, you would tell me where your friends went to school, and I'm like, I've never heard of that school. I've never heard of all of these small schools that are very influential and very difficult to get into, and very great schools that are on the East Coast. I'm like, that was not even on my radar or anyone I knew's radar.
That's a really, really good point by you, because there are definitely different vibes to different parts of the country. In New England, the state school thing isn't as much as it is in the Midwest as the South. Not so much the West Coast, but in New England, like the status schools are small liberal arts private schools.
Yes.
That's what they are. They're not big universities with huge football programs and whatever and partying. And there are still are partying. Like a lot of those are good party schools, but they're 2,000 student schools that are hard to get into. You know, like there's, you know, Bates, Muhlenberg, like all these different ones.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, Bedoin. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. I don't even know. Clark, Bedoin, I think it's called.
Bedoin.
Bowdoin or Bedoin. I don't even know. No, it's Bowdoin. I think it's Bowdoin. I'm not in that crew. I don't really know. I didn't go to I didn't grow up like, you know, with
Bedoin.
white tablecloths in my house growing up anyway. But the vibe in New England for colleges is very, very different than it is in the Midwest, and very, very different than it is in the South. Whereas I feel like in the Midwest, everybody wants to go to a state school, right? Everybody wants to go to that big ass state school and know a bunch of different people or whatever. It's very, very different from New England. And Quinnipiac's kind of in that vibe. They're kind of like, it's a small liberal arts private school. It's a little bit bigger than normal. I mean, they have sports, they're D1, but they're not like some massive sports program. And I wonder what kind of person I would be if I went to like a huge state school. I probably would be different. But then I also think, Michelle, in a different life, I could totally see you being like an art major at NYU and like being a curator of some museum now, like, you know, in a totally different universe.
That's my dream. I would love that. Should I do that right now? That sounds awesome.
You're still young.
I also, Steve, I heard Hilaria Baldwin went to Bedoin.
She probably did. I actually don't even know if I pronounced that correctly. So that tells you how not in the loop I am on that, but.
Okay, next one. And this is from our friend Stanzik. Shout out to Stanzik.
Nice.
What are your top 3 all-time book recommendations?
Okay, so first off, we
He's
obviously
top 5,
know Danzig.
But we're gonna whittle it down.
Yeah, I love calling him Danzig. So he is probably the most aggressive reader of anyone I know. He reads 50 books a year. It's a great, yeah, exactly. He's a voracious reader. The dude is just insane. The 2 things I know about Stanzik are he loves to read and he loves Jeopardy. So that tells you everything you know about Stanzik, which is one of the reasons I like him, because he's a very intelligent guy. But I don't read nearly the amount of books that he does. So I feel like he's asking us this because he wants recommendations, but he's probably read all these books, or he certainly knows about all the books that we're going to give him. So we're just going to give him 3 or 4 books that we like, that we think our audience should read if they haven't already. How's that?
So this is an all-time.
Mine kind of are all-time. Like they're just books that I've read in relatively recently that I like, that I think other people should read.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah, because my all-time list was like Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and like Catcher in the Rye.
I like that. Yeah,
I mean, but it's like classics. Like,
yeah, don't give me The Great Gatsby. Like you probably already read The Great Gatsby. No, I actually love The Great Gatsby. It's probably my favorite of the books that I read, and of all the books you read in high school, that's probably my favorite one.
So To Kill a Mockingbird off the list.
Yeah, exactly. Catcher in the Rye, can't name that one. Yeah. None of those.
Shout out Harper Lee.
What is it? What's the one I'm thinking of Mice and Men, right?
Oh yeah.
None of those could be in there.
Okay. So 3 I've read recently. Okay, I've got some. You go.
All right, I've got 4.
4. Okay, I only have 3.
And they're very different. The first one so this, again, Stan's going to laugh at this because he probably is like, you read Dan Brown novels, what a loser. But I actually really like historical fiction, and I understand that he's like for basic people. And this is probably the most basic thing I have in me is that I read Dan Brown novels, but
no, it's absolutely not.
There's one thing, you're right. I have a lot of other basic things. I'm sneaky,
about?
very basic, as we learned on a few episodes ago. But Inferno by Dan Brown. So everybody knows Da Vinci Code, everybody knows Angels and Demons. There's a lot of different books that he's written, but my favorite one is Inferno. It's I don't want to give too much away, but it's kind of about like it's about how the world is overpopulated, and it takes place in Europe, which is also really, really cool. And there's like a lot of, again, it's historical fiction. There's a lot of things that you can learn about the history of Europe and all these different things. And it's also has like a very scientific sort of lean to it. And it's a book, again, it's not real, but it's fun to read and you learn a lot reading it. And I think the end is the best part of it. The end is awesome. It is worth the entire read. And they even made it into a movie, Michelle, and they changed the ending and it completely ruined the book. So it was the first time.
The ending?
Because I don't want to give anything away, but the ending it's not like a happy ending. That's all I'll say. And they tried to make a happy ending in the movie. And the best part of the book is that it's not a happy ending. So I'll just say Inferno by Dan Brown, really, really good book. Number 2, if you haven't read the Lord of the Rings trilogy, read it. By the way, I have show and tell. So first off,
Wait, I'm taking Harry Potter off the list and you're going Dan Brown and you're going Lord of the Rings.
Really quickly, I brought show and tell. So I've got Inferno right here. Great book. Read it. Let me know if you want to borrow it. The second one I have, so this is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I only say this because I watched the movies before I read the books. And I know a lot of people that have watched the movies, that like the movies, but actually haven't read the books. And reading the books is an awesome, awesome thing to do. You should always do it because it gives you typically the books are better than the movies. And I do kind of believe that is true, even though like the Lord of the Rings movies are amazing. But this one I'm holding up right now, Michelle, is the Silmarillion. This is actually the first book that J.R.R. Tolkien ever wrote, and it was the last one that was published. And it's a bunch of stories that are surrounding the Lord of the Rings universe, right? So there are a lot of the stuff is like earlier in Middle Earth and all that different stuff. So if you really like Lord of the Rings, make sure you read this because it has a backstory of how everything actually happened. It's a bunch of little stories basically put into one. So the Silmarillion, make sure you read that as well.
I'll get right on that, Steve.
2 more. I know that's not up your alley. This one actually might be up your alley. Again, show and tell as I do this here.
Okay.
This is called The History of the World in Bite-Sized Chunks by Emma Marriott. This is a book I actually picked up on my way to the beach. I typically do most of my reading on vacation or flying or at the beach because I get kind of bored. But this is an awesome book because if you're ever interested in like how civilizations came to be, basically all across the world, they go all the way back to the Sumerians in like Africa and like the start of man, all the way up until basically like the civilizations of today, like America. And they tell you how they came to be in very bite-sized chunks. So if you ever want to like a quick tutorial on how the world came to be, The History of the World in Bite-Sized Chunks by Emma Marriott is an awesome one. And then the last book I have here is Sprawl Ball. This is by Kirk Goldsberry, who actually used to be in the Spurs front office and works for ESPN now. He's an NBA analyst. It's really, really good. I bet Stanzik has actually read this because he's a big hoops guy. It kind of gets into a lot of the new age analytic stuff of the NBA and basketball and the 3-point line and how that stuff sort of came to be and how like math became such a big deal in the sport. Because we always think of like analytics nerds being like the worst part of sports. And now analytics nerds are like running front offices. This kind of tells the story of how analytics and the NBA and the 3-point line and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, the Warriors, all of that sort of came to be. And it's a bunch of different like little anecdotes about different things that have basically made basketball what it is today. So if you're a hoops fan, make sure you read Sprawl Ball by Kirk Goldsberry. So those are my 4. I feel like it was pretty diverse too.
Yeah, pretty good. The last 2 definitely intriguing to me and definitely have Ceruti written all over them. Actually, all of them have Ceruti written all over them, but I couldn't care less about the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, that was mostly just me. I always have to try to get Lord of the Rings in when I can. Come on.
Okay, wait. If we're doing show and tell, we're going to take a pause because I'll go grab my books.
Good, I love this.
We'll do it. Okay. Okay, we are back. I have just gone and grabbed 4 books off my shelf.
Nice.
I have an entire cabinet situation in the back with books from top to bottom.
Many leather-bound books.
Many leather-bound books. Many leather-bound books. Is that my new accent? Many leather-bound books.
What was that? Yeah, that's
talking
weird.
like that. I don't even know. Hilaria Baldwin. Elizabeth Holmes. All right.
That was
First book
very
I grabbed.
Rose of you.
Oh, love Moira. What a gem. Okay, I'm going to go through these quick. Circe by Madeline Miller. It's a story about Greek and Roman mythology, but it chronicles Circe and her life and what happens to her. And it's very good. Very, very good. Highly recommend.
I've seen that cover. I've never read the book, but it looks really cool.
Do you want me to mail it to you? Because I will.
Maddie's going to read it before I do, but sure. Yeah.
Well, you would like it too, Steve. This is all about Greek and Roman mythology.
Yeah.
It's a great story.
I love mythology. Mythology is one of the coolest things. I remember learning about that in school. That was one of my favorite things to learn about, for sure.
We've got Athena in here. I mean, every Greek and Roman mythology storyline or god you can think of. Here you go. Classic Joan Didion, the White Album. Hello, a must. Again, very on brand for me. Kitchen Confidential, Anthony Bourdain. If you haven't read this, you need to. It's going to make you think twice before you order certain things at a restaurant. Bourdain is a beautiful writer. This is what kind of exposed the world to him. Must read.
Love Bourdain.
Love Bourdain. And then maybe one of my favorite books in the history of books, Steve. Like if I went to a library and you could say, pick out a book that personifies Michelle Smallman, this might be it. 3 Nights in August by Buzz Bissinger, who's an amazing writer. Most people know him from Friday Night Lights. If you are a baseball person, doesn't even have to be a Cardinal fan. If you are a baseball person, you need to read this book, 3 Nights in August. Buzz Bissinger was given unprecedented access to the Cardinals. He followed them for a year, but he really chronicles 3 Nights in August, per the name of the book, where the Cardinals play the Cubs with postseason implications, the division, but the access is unbelievable. He talks about private meetings that the manager has with players. He talks about injuries and the way that Tony La Russa has to construct a lineup. He breaks down situations in a game, and Tony La Russa takes him through his thought process on how he manages things, how he manages star players and personalities. It is so good. Steve, I read this and you can see I have so many highlighted passages. And I mean, it's just like chunks that I would highlight, things that I love. Like, let me try to find one really quick to read. Just to give
I love that you highlight. That's amazing that you like, it's a textbook.
I have done that since I was a kid. I love to highlight things and go back and reference them. Like, let me find a good one. Okay, how about this from page 60? Just turn to it. It was a merciless environment for players, but now the problem is overconfidence, the job security they have earned over the years breeding, as he puts it, a different monster. La Russa calculates that for today's players, winning is 3rd or 4th on their list behind making money and having security and all that other BS.
Sounds like good stuff. And that's honestly, if a book was written for you specifically, that would be the one. You mentioned Friday Night Lights too. If you haven't read Friday Night Lights, I mean, the movie's awesome, but if you haven't read the book too, you should read the book. It's awesome.
The show's better than the movie.
Well, the movie was well, they're different though, aren't they?
I know they're different, but the show was better than the movie.
I've never actually seen the show. I mean, Maddie loves it. I know a lot of people love it.
What?
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Steve, we're doing this right now because I consider this for 2021. I needed something to bring me joy in this new year. We are going to watch Friday Night Lights and we're going to talk about it on the pod. We're going to do a quick recap, the way that we do other shows. It is everything. It is so good. Starting next week, we're going to watch an episode of Friday Night Lights. We're going to do a quick recap, and it's going to be something we do at the back end of the pod.
Okay. I mean, I know everybody loves it. I just never really got into it. And I remember seeing the movie first, and I loved the movie so much. I was like, I don't really need to watch the show.
Oh my God.
But I like everybody in it. I don't know.
Matt Saracen, my eternal boo. I cannot wait for this. Unbelievable. You're going to love it. Okay. Next question. And let's do some of these fast.
Hopefully Stanzik like that. He's probably read most of these books already.
Yeah. Sorry, Stanzik, if this didn't live up. If this didn't live up to your expectations, if you've read all of these, please let us know and we'll come back and we'll be better. Because again, those who don't know Stanzik, he sends, or he used to send, I need it more often, an email with the best things he read, watched, and listened to. And it's always so interesting, things I had never heard of or seen. And he gives great reviews about it. So yeah, I wish I would have thought about it more. And I'm reading a good book right now called Betty. I read a good book called There by Tommy Orange. Highly recommend that if you haven't read it.
I want to read. So I actually have a couple books in the background here I bought Dune, which is like one of the, probably the most famous science fiction novel of all time. I've never read it. There's a movie coming out with Timothy Chalamet, whatever his name is. Chalamet.
Love him.
So I actually just bought that and want to read it. And then my mom gave me Green Lights, which is Matthew McConaughey's book, which is like, I guess, part autobiography, part just like mystical Matthew McConaughey, whatever. And I love McConaughey. So I have both of those back there that I do want to read as well.
Okay, let's run through these because we do have someone that's going to pop on.
That's true. All right, we'll do these quick.
Okay. Steve, one pandemic trend you hope continues.
This is going to continue. This is like kind of a cop-out answer because it's awesome, but grocery store delivery, this idea that I can now have Amazon Prime and get Whole Foods delivered by the end of the day to my house for free is the most ridiculous thing of all time. And it's borderline dangerous, actually, but I hate going to the grocery store. I didn't like going before the pandemic. I don't like going now. I can just pick a couple things up online. All of a sudden, some guy drops it off at my doorstep and it's like good stuff. Yeah. So that's going to keep going. So I guess it's a cop out, but grocery store delivery is amazing to me.
Mine is the culture of busyness. Before, you were expected to be on all the time and expected to be all of these different places at once. There wasn't really any work-life delineation, at least in our industry. And I love that now personal life also takes some sort of a precedent. And I hope that that continues. I hope that people aren't expected to be on 24/7.
That's a good one. That's much better than mine. Good call.
Okay, Steve, favorite restaurant in New York City?
All right, so I outsourced this question because I don't get out as much in New York as maybe I should, even though I'm somewhat close to New York. You are the New York sort of expert, I guess, between the two of us. But my sister lives in New York, so I actually asked her what is her favorite restaurant in New York City. She said Casa Restaurant, which is in the West Village. It is a Brazilian home cooking, I guess, restaurant since 1998. She loves it, so I've never been. This is all on my sister Rachel, but she has really great taste. So go to Casa Restaurant in West Village.
Okay, so if I could go to any restaurant in New York City, it'd be 11 Madison Park. Have never been, would die to go. The initial one I was going to say is a West Village haunt called Tortilla Flats, where I've had many a great night with some margaritas, but I looked it up and it permanently closed, which was such a bummer. There's so many great restaurants in New York. Just off the top of my head, I'll stick in the West Village, and I love getting an Aperol Spritz and an order of meatballs at Morandi. I sit outside, people watch, but there's so many great places in New York. And the thing about New York is anytime I go back, my friends are like, have you been to Le Coucou? This is the best spot. We need to go here. It's like anytime you go, your new favorite restaurant changes, which is part of what makes New York great.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question, Steve. I don't know if we've ever done this one before. I know at the very beginning of the pod we did, do you wet your toothbrush before or after you put toothpaste on?
Before,
but I don't know
always,
if we've...
but okay.
Yeah, before always.
Before and after, actually.
Me too. I'm a double dipper. Okay. Have we ever done, though, the toilet paper one? Do you prefer the toilet paper to hang over or under?
Okay. I don't think we've done this, but my answer is probably the controversial one. I actually like, because people compare it. You've never heard this before. We were talking about this before we started taping, but it's the mullet versus the beard thing, right? Because everyone's like, oh, you want a beard, you want it to come out of the front, not a mullet like in the back. But I actually like the back. I actually like pulling it down from the back because it hides sort of the thing. It looks kind of neat on the front. And I think it's easier to rip away when it's in the back too. So I know I'm in the minority, but give me the beard, give me the back, or give me the mullet, give me the back.
Yeah, I thought there was only one answer, and that was over the top. Unless you're a serial killer.
I guess we got to watch out for me. I don't know. Here's the thing. In my house, it's always in the front because that's the way that Maddie likes it. And I'm not going to argue with her. I don't really care that much. But if I had my preference, it would be in the back.
Weird.
I know. Sorry. We all have our quirks. I don't know what to tell you.
Steve likes it in the back. Okay.
I'm trying to, whoa. Hey, now.
Wait, that unintentionally sounded so bad. My bad, dude. Sorry.
That is incredible.
Retraction.
No, we're keeping that in for sure. That's 100% staying in.
Oh my God.
Okay. You heard it here first.
It's like 6 o'clock. I'm tired. Steve likes it.
What an unbelievable line.
I didn't even think as the words escaped my mouth. I didn't even think about it. Okay. Next one. Quickly. What does your ideal day look like?
This is so predictable. We should just guess our own, and then we should tell you what they are.
Okay, you would wake up, have an espresso, watch soccer, maybe have some breakfast, an afternoon of FIFA, your dogs would be there. Then you would probably watch an NBA game at night, have a beautiful meal with Maddie, definitely have some sort of great beer at the end of it.
Wow, that's like pretty accurate. I wrote this down. I would wake up Saturday morning, 7:30, 8-ish. I'd make a banging ass espresso, turn on soccer, watch until about 2, take the dogs for a walk, probably in town, maybe grab a sandwich, an Alt B at Hartford Bacon Company. Amazing sandwich. Love it there. Come home, maybe play a couple games of FIFA, late afternoon, early evening. Then, evening comes around, go to Sayulita, eat a bunch of tacos, have a couple margaritas, come home, watch Netflix on the couch and pass out.
Love it. Do I know you or do I know you?
Yeah, other than the NBA thing, I probably would want to watch an NBA game too. So
And
you actually know me better than I know myself.
I should have said Cellulita, but in my mind, I was thinking that you would want to cook at home so you could watch NBA.
No. I would always want to go out, and then they have TVs there too, so it's perfect. But you're a little bit. I mean, I think yours would probably be some sort of brunch, right? I think you'd want to do a brunch.
No, Steve, I'm on vacation.
What does that mean?
Your ideal day? I'm on vacation.
Yeah, but you can't do brunch on vacation?
I mean, you can, but I'm not brunching on vacation.
I'm not on vacation here. This is like, what's your, like, obviously in an average day that I would really enjoy.
I didn't know if it was an average day.
If I could pick any day, it would be like, I'd be at the Stadio Olimpico in Rome watching a Roma match. I'd be, having an espresso in Rome. No, I thought of this as more of like your day-to-day life, but what is a good day in the day of Steve or the day of Michelle? So mine would be, you wake up, it's probably a weekend, maybe a Saturday or Sunday morning. You're going out to brunch with the girls, having a great time, getting a little buzzed early afternoon. Then you're probably walking around the city, maybe doing a little bit of shopping. Then you're going to hit up some really, really super low key, but awesomely popular, hole in the wall eatery place. One of the places that you just described in the West Village, I'm sure. And then late night, you're probably going to, I don't know, a rooftop bar somewhere and having an Aperol spritz. That's probably how I would describe your day.
It's pretty good. I was going to work in like an art museum, maybe.
Oh yes. Art museum. Definitely. That would be somewhere in the day after the mimosas.
Or, you know what I've been craving so bad lately? Wake up early, mimosas, tailgating, college football game.
A good tailgate.
I've been dying for like a college football or a really, really great party sports environment.
I agree. That's one of the things I miss the most about the pandemic.
Steve, about LSU. I don't know why. I just keep thinking about when we went there and how much I loved it and how much I cannot wait for life to be normal and we can go back and somebody can be cooking up a brisket on their, the thing that they brought there, their grill, and we could all be having a good time and go commune and watch sports together.
I miss going to like USA soccer matches and just like tailgating that and like getting weird and just, I don't know, day drinking, playing beer pong, kind of the same thing, like tailgating in a way, but then actually going to the games themselves. I miss the NBC Sports. They used to do these like daytime party things where they would have them at a bar and you'd be able to, drink basically all day and watch soccer. Like I miss that. That's the thing about the pandemic that I miss the most is the sports aspect, but the camaraderie of it, of like hanging out with people and watching a game or something that you can't do. It just doesn't, like sitting on the couch is fun and watching games, but I also want to be able to do stuff. That's the thing I probably miss the most, but eventually we'll get there.
Just to be clear, my actual ideal day has to include a boat and it has to a nap in the sunshine. There's nothing more luxurious than taking a nap on the beach, because you have nothing to do and no one to answer to. Maybe you've had a couple cocktails, you're just laying in the sun, you doze off for a little bit, you wake up, maybe a cool breeze comes in and you're like, I have shit to do today. This is awesome.
I'm going to zag on that.
That is luxury.
I'm going to zag on that. I actually hate sleeping on the beach. It's uncomfortable. It's hot. The sand is never comfortable to sleep on. And then like, you can't sleep when you got like sand stuck to you and then you're sweating. Oh no, pass. I like the beach, but I don't like sleeping on the beach because it's just, you're never comfortable.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap up the AMA here. Thank you to everyone that submitted questions. Sorry if we didn't get to yours, but actually someone sent in a really good game idea that we didn't have enough time for this week, but we're going to carry that over to next week because I think that actually might be a good segment that we could bring back. So to our friend Derek, you know who you are. Your questions are coming.
What's up, Derek?
What's up, Derek? But at the top, shout out to Derek. At the top of the podcast, we talked about a guest that was going to join us at the end. And this is an interesting thing. It's not an interview per se that we're doing. It's not anyone that the listeners know. It's not even anyone that Ceruti and I know. But as we've talked about on the pod, in addition to the shirts and the YouTube channel that we developed, we also developed a website. And by we, I mean Steve, because I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to anything like that. So Steve developed a website and people have been sending us comments. They've been sending us questions, just submitting things about the podcast so that we can converse with you. It's been an awesome platform in that way. So we get the emails, and one email that we got really piqued our interest. We thought it was very well written, and we wanted to talk to the author of the email, and he's going to explain why here in a second. But we want to welcome in, I think it's fair to say, an OG Shelley, our listener, our new friend, John Martin. John, thank you for joining the pod. And is it fair to call you an OG Shelley? I think you've been around a while.
Day one Shelley, for sure.
Day one Shelley.
What an honor. Thank you so much. I know a couple pods ago, you're talking about like psychedelic out-of-body experiences. This is one of them. So what an honor it is to be here. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, John, love your accent. Let everyone know where you're from.
Lexington, Kentucky.
Lexington, Kentucky. Shout out. I love that. Love Lexington. Ran a race there. It's a beautiful place.
We got a Rage Against the
Okay.
Machine poster in the background too, right? I
Just
love that.
lingering. Yeah. Yeah. It's par for the course for these times. But yeah.
I love that. Love that. And so, yeah, you're Kentucky Wildcat. You also, I mean, we'll get into this a little bit. Third Eye Blind fan. You're checking a lot of boxes here, but I guess we were thinking, what we should do, Michelle? We'll let him sort of pitch us on what he wants to do exactly with the pod, because we thought he had a pretty good idea and he was very convincing.
Yeah. So if you can, John, just recap the email that you sent us.
Simply put, I have not seen the movie, but I basically want to be Robert De Niro. I would love nothing more than to have the opportunity to try out to be an intern for the Small Talk Operations Corporation, because you are a conglomerate. You're so much more than just the pod. It's an entire operation.
Okay, so this is going to be Shark Tank now. Steve and I are going to morph. Yes. Steve, I want to be Mark Cuban. I don't know what shark you want to be, but I call Mark Cuban.
I don't know. I'll be my own. Who else is in there? I don't even really know. I don't even know their names.
Steve,
who's the bald guy?
Mr. Wonderful? Yeah, you're Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah, I'll be Mr. Wonderful.
Okay, bad choice. But anyway.
Or Lori Grenier. Should I be Lori Grenier? I don't know.
You're kind of a hybrid of Mr. Wonderful and Robert, I think. You definitely
is Robert the good hair guy?
Great hair. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah, don't be Lori. She's pigeonholed into one thing, Steven. You diversify. Okay.
No, it's true. I'm very, yes, exactly. Thank you.
Okay, so Shark Tank style though, explain to us what your skills are, what you can offer us, pitch us on why we should accept you as a Small Talk intern.
Great question. Point number one was already prefaced by you just a second ago. As I mentioned in my super over-the-top podcast review very early on in quarantine, co-chairman of the Third Eye Blind is Terrific committee. That's
points
being brought to the table. Do we need Can You Take Me as a new theme song? I don't know. But Stephen Jenkins will be officially unleashed. We will flip the Senate, Ceruti. That probably just cost me 50% of my odds for this opportunity. But Michelle, I do love Below Deck. If that hopes repair any damage I might have just caused with that Third Eye Blind fanfare. In the immortal words of Rick Ross, I've got the Justin Bieber, please believe it. The belief is my first selling point. I truly believe, I wrote this in the email, it is from the heart, that you all have the possibility, the potential, it's already in the cards for you all to go to top 5 of the charts, not top 10. As Drake says, the top 5. Top 5.
Yeah. I like where the references, but first off, if I interrupt you, you've dropped like 9 references so far, and I love every single one of them. So, and also, I think the funny part is like you act like there's some like competition to become our intern. Right now, you're the only applicant, so you
cannot be a shark.
No, it's okay. I like him. I'm trying to be honest with them. I'm trying to be like, listen, I'm just laying all the cards on the table. We're honest here. We don't try to play anybody else.
I'm from Kentucky. Straight shots.
There you go. Straight bourbon shots. Let's go.
Whether it's bourbon or the truth. Straight shots.
I love that. Okay.
He's already convinced me, so I guess you got to convince Michelle.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm still a shark here, and I have not revealed where my cards are at. Okay, John.
Yeah, Mark is harder to convince. That's a guarantee.
Always.
Okay. So the belief can only go. The belief can only go so far. I have it. I do also want to mention I guess you could say vision. You all already have enough of the vision, so you don't need any more vision. But what I appreciate most about your show is, yes, there's other shows out there that are entertaining and insightful. There's a lot of them. I don't think there's another show quite like your all's that can weave the humor and content into the fabric of all the Shelleys, our everyday life. There are so many spontaneous things that makes me like think of your show. And I'm not going out searching for it. It just pops up. Ceruti, that might be popcorners in aisle 7 of mine.
Yes.
Those are a problem. I can't find the sweet chili, but the queso ones, those are a problem.
I can't believe how many he's checking he's dropping all these things.
All right, calm down. Let him go.
I can't even talk anymore. I'm gonna lay out.
Yeah, are you guys like, did you just become best friends?
I guess so. Yeah, we're gonna do karate in the garage.
Stephen Jenkins. Stephen Jenkins.
You know what, John?
Half a silly goose, half a voice of a generation.
You might not be the intern. You might be the new co-host. So just take that for what it's worth, okay? I might be out here, but continue. Please continue.
Okay, so your music recommendations, Ceruti, I know I tweeted you over summer. Josh Witchery, phenomenal. Michelle, what was your latest one? Morgan St. You. I like that one.
Very
Add
good.
it to the pop playlist. Your content is literally A plus. I'm not trying to like, I know I am selling, but it is from the heart that no other podcast like weaves its way like into my everyday life. And I know I speak for the masses with that. So that's what inspired me more than anything is I know you're already successful. That goes all the way back. I mean, I loved you all back, SVP and Rosillo. I just wanted you to have as much airtime as possible back then. I just want to help in any way I can to boost to, I think, help take it to another level to where we're going top 5.
Okay. So I appreciate the P. Diddy hype man to our Biggie Smalls. I appreciate that. But we need something tangible, like from a
You need something tangible because
standpoint.
P. Diddy can't rap. So P. Diddy is the hype man, kind of like Flavor Flav. Okay. 7 years of copywriting experience. So you love Keeneland. I've written ads for Keeneland published. Also, I hate like this promotion here is going to be, there's no way for this to not sound a little cringy, but I guess I just have to go down this lane here. Copywriting. So I've written ads, website, headlines, event. I named an event for Peter Millar. Oh, this also sounds super obnoxious. Anything you need written, I believe I can be an asset for.
Okay.
That's probably the most polished skill. So whether that's writing descriptions on the YouTube channel, which I know is launching, kicking off now, I think that's a lane that I could be of value to.
So here's the
Reese,
thing.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Really quickly. So here's the thing. Michelle and I, we talk about this all the time. And we were actually just talking about it today before we started taping the pod. Michelle's texting me about like what she wants to send out on Instagram because both her and I are very afraid of promoting ourselves. We are bad. We acknowledge we're bad at it.
It's hard to do.
Because we don't want to, we don't want to come across as like we're these thirsty people like, oh, listen to this, like, download our podcast. Like, that's not what we want to be about. We want it to be organic. We want it to be real. And that's the thing that we've struggled with. So that is where we are very much open to suggestions, and whether it's copywriting or whatever, anything that you want to suggest to us, that's where we feel like we struggle a little bit, is that we don't know and we don't really feel comfortable promoting ourselves.
Most people don't. So that's a lot of my projects have been about me, about us, like storytelling what the brand is. It's not published yet, but a local band here in town, they're getting ready to release their first album. I just wrote their Spotify bio about their album and the band because it's so hard. They're incredible. It's just hard to like hype yourself. So what you just said, I definitely think I can do. And that's what I'm trying to say, try out, because I can say all this. Sounds great. I can tell you have a 40-inch vertical. I don't. It's probably like 18. But that's
still
what I'm saying.
It's 30 years old.
Passable.
Come on.
It's passable.
You can still get rim. That's cool.
Yeah. 3/4 net. 3/4 net.
Let me ask you this though, too. Let me ask you this. And Michelle, feel free to fire in as well. 30 years old, like being an intern at 30 is tough. You mentioned the Robert De Niro. I've never seen the movie, but I understand the concept of the movie. It's Anne Hathaway, as Michelle likes to call Annie. But
I don't like to call her that.
People that like to call her Annie.
People that know her.
But I will say, being a 30-year-old intern, there's some struggles in that. Like, obviously, we're still growing. So this is just for the love of the game. This is just for the love of the pod.
The love of the game, for sure. Yeah, we haven't had a discussion on hours I can dedicate, but I am very dedicated. I will make it work. But so to my second part, I will answer that question in kind of the second point is I've changed courses. I'm one of the millions that's been laid off this summer to where, I managed an AT&T store for 5 years, but that drove me to saying, I want to start doing like SEO, social media managing. There's two hubs like Hootsuite, HubSpot, of managing social media. They all kind of like blend together. But so that's all I've been doing the last 2 months is studying like Google Analytics, Search Console. You're probably on YouTube Studio right now learning those analytics. I started that last
Very
week.
basic, but yes.
Same. We're on the same wavelength. But that's why I'm saying intern is, I do think like I have experience with copywriting. I'm polished with that. Still, of course, room to grow. Never ending journey. But with the SEO, everything Google and SEO, that is like a 2-month endeavor to where I'm learning a lot. I know I can do it, but I don't have tangible experience. So I never present myself as such. I'm an honest person.
Okay. If this is really an interview, what's the one thing you would change about our podcast?
I would just give, you all are vibrant, you're vivacious, you're everything I've said prior to this sentence. I think there needs to be more descriptions that is like marketing to the masses of exactly how much color and texture you all bring. There needs to be like marketing for that so people can understand when they're coming across and scroll it. It's not like the logo is bad. It's not like the description. It's a very simple one line. You are so much more than that.
Good answer.
This guy's blowing me away. I have nothing else to say.
I'm so impressed.
Listen, I want to judge you by you're clearly saying all the right things. There's a lot of buzzwords being thrown out, which I'm typically like a little bit scared of buzzword guy, but I don't know, for some reason there are good vibes coming here. It's not just buzzwords. It feels like something behind it.
Yeah, jovial vibes.
Locomotive.
Yeah.
See?
Jovial locomotive.
He remembers, Steve. Okay, Steve, we already know your answer. Yes or no?
Of course. Yeah. Come on.
You know what, John? I'm going to be honest with you. You lost me with all the third eye blind talk. But just when I was
no one's perfect.
Below deck.
But John, just when I was ready to give up, you pulled me back in. I am very much a vibe check person because people can say all the right things. I obviously see you have notes there. You were very prepared. You're very eloquent. You're funny. We really enjoyed your email. But the rapport is what matters to me. I would rather work with somebody that I get along with and that I want to talk to every day, AKA Steve, where people have room to grow, than I would somebody that's super polished, but I think sucks. And you passed the vibe check, my man. So it's a yes from me too, John. I think we can officially say, welcome to the Small Talk team. You're our first intern.
Best Christmas gift ever.
Oh my God. This is so exciting. So what we'll do, we're going to talk to you off pod about next steps, but we'll have to do a John check-in, an intern check-in at the end of every pod. Incredible. So we can give like an update on what you've been doing for us. But it really does seem like Steve and I would love to talk to you and have you as part of the team, and B, that you can genuinely help us expand this thing.
I could not agree more. And thank you times a trillion.
Nice. And next step, we'll get Stephen Jenkins on the pod too.
Yes. Next week.
Yep. Perfect. You're the man, John. Appreciate it.
Take care, y'all. Much appreciated.
Steve, I can't believe it. We have an intern. Another thing that we're adding to the list of improvements to the pod in 2020.
John, I honestly feel like he said like a dozen things that were directed specifically to convince me, and I needed no more convincing after I heard like 3 of them. Third eye blind. He's got a Rage Against the Machine poster in the back of his office. Like, this guy's awesome. I'm all in.
Yeah, you would be the worst shark. You jumped right in and made it.
No.
You didn't even ask for any valuations. You didn't ask about percentages. You didn't ask about anything. You were just like, oh, you like third eye blind? How about I make you this deal?
But I'm with you. Like, it's the vibe. The vibe is important. That's the most important thing. Like, a guy can be super like polished, or a girl could be polished, well put together, have all the right things to say. But if I don't feel like I know you or can vibe with you or could be friends with you or feel like your heart's in the right place, like clearly John is doing this because he loves the show, not because he's looking to make it big. I think he maybe thinks there could be both, which, who knows? I want to keep expectations as low as possible. But I think what's funny is the guy seems very genuine. And I think you and I are sort of, we have good bullshit meters. Like, we know when someone's bullshitting, and clearly he wasn't bullshitting. Now,
we've been fooled before.
There's certainly a way. Exactly. My heart's been broken before, but there are certainly, ways to tug at my heartstrings, and John definitely knew how to do that.
No, he was awesome. He seemed very genuine, very cool. Love Lexington, Kentucky. I mean, one of my favorite places that I've been in America. I chose Kentucky in the state draft. You know how I feel about Kentucky. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, he did seem to genuinely love the show and just want to be a part of it. And so why wouldn't we want to bring somebody like that onto the team? That's exactly what we want. So we're thrilled to welcome John as our official first intern.
Love that. We're growing. 2021, big things.
Right. And I would read a review, but John just kind of reviewed the podcast for us. So it doesn't seem like we need to do it anymore. And he gave us 5 stars, obviously. So thank you to John, and we look forward to working with him in the future. But thank you to everyone for listening. Thank you to everybody who has followed along with this journey this entire time. I mean, the fact that we could even have people like John who've been listening to this podcast for as long as they have is really special. I mean, I posted like an emo Instagram post about the Shelly shirts selling out, but I truly mean it. Like, I just love this community and like meeting all the people and getting to interact with the people that listen to the pod. So to the Shellys, we love you. Steve and I will be back in action next year. Wink, wink, nod,
nice.
nod. Isn't that
Jokes.
so lame?
It is.
You see everybody at the office
But I love
like,
it.
at you next year, you're like, I'll see you on Monday.
You're like, wait, what? No. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Good time.
I'll see you on Monday, Robert. But anyway, Steve and I will be back in action next week and next year. But until then, adios, Esteban.
2021 Shelly stepping out, being super adventurous.
Thanks for listening to Small Talk. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or the Podcast One app.